They ousted me from the family chat after I declined to bankroll my sister's expenses. Then they attempted to fraudulently take $80,000 in my name, so I taught them a lesson. The message came through a group chat of all places. It read, "We believe it's best if you take a step back for now." My parents, my aunt, and my uncle were all part of it, though my uncle seldom chimed in. This time his silence spoke volumes. The words hit me hard. I was warming up leftover biryani, mentally preparing to finish a work spreadsheet before bed when I saw it. "We've talked it over and we think you need to distance yourself from the family for a while. Vanessa needs room to breathe. We all do." My aunt added a thumbs up emoji below it, just like that. No phone call, no discussion. Just a thumbs up. I stared at my phone for a solid minute before responding. Got it. I'll honor that and withdraw from the family fund as well. I didn't wait for a reply. That night, I logged into the joint account I'd been quietly overseeing for 5 years. The one that covered Mom's insulin, helped Dad refinance the second mortgage, and kept Vanessa's car on the road when her payments were late. I stopped my automatic deposits, then I shut the account down entirely. My phone buzzed incessantly. By morning, I had 89 missed calls. Dad left the final voicemail, his voice shaky, furious, and panicked. "What's going on?" The bank flagged everything. "Are you all right? Why would you do this?" I responded with a single line, "I'm respecting your wishes." That was before they realized how much I'd been holding together behind the scenes. To understand why that message felt like a betrayal, you'd need to go back. 5 years ago, Vanessa was hospitalized again. Dad called me, sobbing from a Walgreens parking lot. "She's not going to make it, son," he said. "They won't admit her without insurance. We're out of options." That night, I drained my savings to cover her rehab. Vanessa stabilized for a while, and everyone called it a miracle, but no one ever acknowledged that I made it happen. No one offered to repay me. No one even asked how I was holding up. But it didn't stop there. When Mom was diagnosed with diabetes, I started paying for her medications. Dad's hours at the warehouse were cut. Vanessa's stability wavered. Every time she hit rock bottom, they turned to me quietly, desperately. At first, it was small things, $300 here, a short-term loan. Then they asked if I could set up something more permanent, a family emergency fund. I was 27, single, grinding 80-hour weeks in finance. It seemed reasonable, I told myself. I could afford it, so I did. I created the family fund in my name. I funneled money into Mom's prescriptions, Vanessa's therapy copays, and even the phone bill when they fell behind. They gave me access to everything, passwords, account numbers, balances, not out of trust, but because they didn't want the hassle. They called me the dependable one. They meant the convenient one. My life became a ledger of unspoken sacrifices. Meanwhile, Vanessa spiraled again. She got a DUI in 2020, and I paid for her lawyer. She moved in with a guy named Eric, who was definitely not abusive, they said. When she fled him in the dead of night, I was the one who sent her money for a hotel and groceries. I never saw a penny back. They never asked where the money came from. They never noticed the spreadsheets I kept to stay afloat. They didn't see me move to a cheaper apartment, skip vacations, or eat instant noodles for dinner more nights than I'd care to admit. I was the financial dam holding back their chaos. For a while, I was okay with it, until the Christmas episode 2 years ago. Vanessa threw a fit when I refused to buy her new tires after I'd just covered her rent. She complained to my parents, saying I was unsupportive. Dad pulled me aside. "Son, she's in recovery. You don't understand how hard that is." Something inside me broke, not loudly, but like a quiet crack under pressure. I didn't lash out. Instead, I started documenting. Every dollar I sent, every bill I paid, every excuse they offered. I saved receipts, emailed myself bank statements, and took screenshots. Not to throw it in their faces, not yet, but to remind myself it was real, that I wasn't imagining the drain, the pattern, or the constant taking without giving. Then, last month, things escalated. Vanessa posted in the family chat, "Hey, I know money's tight, but can the fund cover a yoga retreat in Arizona? It's for my mental health." A yoga retreat, $3,200. I stayed silent, waiting to see what they'd say. Dad, the same man who leaned on me to clear his debts twice last year, replied, "Sounds like something you need. Let's figure it out." Mom sent a heart emoji. That's when I realized they weren't just using me, they expected me to be used. They assumed the fund was theirs, and I was just a silent donor. Years had passed, and entitlement had replaced appreciation. But the real bombshell came 2 nights before the exile message. During our monthly family call, usually a stage for Vanessa's therapy session with me as the invisible ATM, I tried to share some news. I'd been promoted to director at my firm. Big raise, big responsibilities. Dad cut me off mid-sentence. Sorry, can we focus on Vanessa's housing? She's not feeling safe where she's at. They wanted to move her to a better place. With my help, of course, I didn't agree. I didn't argue. I just said calmly, maybe it's time someone else takes responsibility. The silence was icy, indignant. 2 days later, the message arrived. We think it's best if you step away for now. Aunt Evelyn's thumbs up felt like a blade. They thought they were cutting me off, unaware they were severing the only thing keeping their financial world afloat. I was the quiet current under their lives. When I stopped, their world went dark. The fallout began within 36 hours. Overdraft alerts flooded in. Mom's pharmacist called me. Then Vanessa, the one who wanted space, left a voicemail that started soft and ended in a shriek. Why would you do this? You knew I needed that payment. By Sunday morning, the texts were relentless. Dad sent a barrage of voicemails unraveling in real time. They kicked us out of the family chat like I was an outsider. The mortgage payment failed. I thought you handled the insurance. The car's uninsured now. What did you do to the utilities? The bank froze our checking, said there were red flags. You need to fix this, as if I'd broken something. As if I hadn't already stepped back, as they'd asked. The problem wasn't that I stopped helping. They didn't realize how much I'd been carrying. Then came the family Zoom call. My cousin Emily arranged it, claiming it was just a talk. But when I joined, their faces were lined up like a tribunal. Mom's lips were pale and tight. Dad was pacing. Vanessa had tears streaming down her face. It felt staged. Aunt Evelyn sat there, smug in her scarf and pearls, like she was presiding over a trial. Why did you do this to us? Vanessa asked, her voice trembling. You just abandoned us after everything I've done. You mean after I paid your rent, funded your rehab, and got ridiculed for saying no to your yoga retreat? I shot back. That's not fair, she said. Fair? I pressed. You want fair. For 5 years, I've been cleaning up your financial messes like a janitor, paying your overdrafts, bailing you out while you post self-help quotes about growth and balance. The second I pause, you banish me from the family chat like I'm expendable. Mom finally spoke. It wasn't banishment. We were giving you space, too. No, you weren't. I cut in. You were siding with Vanessa, like always. You just found a polite way to tell me to vanish, so I did. Dad crossed his arms. You didn't have to shut down the fund. I didn't shut it down, I clarified. I closed it. It was in my name, funded by my money, managed by me. The family fund wasn't a trust, it was a tether. His face reddened. We trusted you. No, I said, you used me. Then I opened a folder and shared my screen. A spreadsheet appeared, rows of transactions, dates, amounts, every penny tracked. Rent, medical bills, utilities, repairs, Vanessa's retreat I nearly paid for, Aunt Evelyn's emergency dental work, even the Uber I covered for Mom's 2M hospital ride during a panic attack. Wow, Emily muttered. Who keeps all this? Someone who knew you'd try to convince me. I imagined it all, I said, eyes fixed on the screen. Then I clicked the final tab. A running total, $87,421.13. Silence fell. Dad stepped back from the camera as if struck. You've been keeping score? Mom gasped, horrified. No, I said, I've been surviving you. Vanessa lunged at the screen like a child in a tantrum. You're just bitter. You've always been bitter because no one pats you on the back for being the perfect son. You want a medal for acting like an adult. No, I said quietly, I just want boundaries, and I'm done being your financial crutch. That's rich, Evelyn muttered. You think money's all that matters? No, I replied. But it's the only thing you ever came to me for. Then I closed the spreadsheet and delivered the final blow. I've already contacted the bank. All joint authorizations are revoked. My name's off your accounts. The credit cards are closed. The shared utility payments are canceled. You'll need to re-enroll for insurance premiums yourselves. You wanted me to step away. This is what that looks like. Mom gasped. Dad's face turned ashen. Vanessa looked like she'd been punched. Emily leaned back, stunned. But I wasn't done. I also spoke to a lawyer, I added. You'll get paperwork soon. I'm dissolving any legal ties to the informal family trust. Just in case someone tries to use my credit or open something in my name again. You're overreacting, Vanessa shouted. You're cutting us off. I'm protecting myself, I corrected. I'm not your backup plan anymore, not your safety net, not your free pass. Dad looked shattered but said nothing. Mom was quietly crying. Vanessa stormed off screen, slamming something. Evelyn reached forward and ended the call without a word. I leaned back, heart pounding, hands shaking. But for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of the fallout. Because the only thing I stood to lose was the burden I'd carried too long. The quiet after the call was eerie. For the first time in years, my phone didn't ring with a "Hey, can you cover this?" Or just this one thing. No guilt-tripping voicemails, no sad emojis. Vanessa didn't post cryptic quotes about betrayal. Nothing. It was like I'd vanished. At first, I thought they might finally get it. Maybe they'd learn to stand on their own. But I should have known better. 10 days later, an email arrived from an unfamiliar address. One line, "You've destroyed everything." Attached were screenshots of bills. Vanessa's eviction notice, a final warning from the power company, a declined credit card application with my name listed as a former co-signer. They were falling apart, fast and messily. People used to being laid out don't fall gracefully. They crash and point fingers. That same week, Mom showed up at my office. My assistant rushed in during a meeting, wide-eyed. "There's a woman here, says she's your mom, won't leave." I found her in the lobby, pale, trembling, clutching an envelope of papers. "I didn't know where else to go," she said, voice hoarse. "Your dad's sleeping on the couch." Vanessa hasn't left her room in days. The landlord's changing the locks next week. I stayed silent. She played her trump card, voice sharp with anger. "I raised you. I gave you life. This is how you repay us." I laughed, not cruelly but hollowly, like air escaping a broken valve. "You gave me life," I said. "Then you spent 30 years convincing me I owed you for it." She flinched. I stepped closer. "I didn't beg you at 22 to let me carry your chaos. To take on your debts, save my sister repeatedly while you enabled her, or sacrifice my mental health, my relationships, my life, just so you could avoid facing reality." She said nothing. I continued. "You want help? Call a social worker, call a credit counselor. Call the system you said we were too proud to rely on. I'm not your lifeline anymore." I turned and walked back to my office. I didn't look to see if she followed. But it wasn't over. A week later, a thick envelope arrived from the bank. Inside was a flagged inquiry report. Someone had tried to open a business loan using my name, social security number, and the family fund's tax ID. The loan, $80,000, the company. Vanessa Grace Recovery Services, LLC. I froze. It wasn't a real company. No LLC, no tax record, no license. But the application included a forged signature that looked like mine. I called the bank. The fraud department walked me through it. "Sir, it seems someone close to you tried to pose as your financial partner. If you hadn't closed that account, this might have slipped through. The co-signers, Mom and Dad, they hadn't just used me, they'd tried to pin their debt on me." The polite exile, the call for space. The silence, it wasn't random. It was a plan. Push me out quietly, keep my name on the fund, take the money, and let me take the fall if it collapsed. When that failed, they painted me as the villain in their story of failed theft. I spent the weekend filing reports with the bank, police, and IRS. I submitted affidavits, handed over texts where Vanessa mentioned starting a nonprofit in my name. Each step felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. That night, Vanessa called from a new number, sobbing. "I just want to say I understand now." She rambled about her struggles, her sadness, but didn't mention the loan. I didn't mention the forgery. I asked one question. "Did you know about the business application?" Silence. Then the line went dead. I blocked the number. That's when the real change happened, not in them, but in me. I started sleeping better. I stopped checking my bank app nightly, terrified of secret withdrawals. I went out with friends and didn't flinch at the bill. Then Uncle Henry called. He was the family outcast, labeled unstable after cutting ties years ago. He found me on LinkedIn. "Heard what you did," he said. "Heard about the fund, the loan. You're not the first they've bled dry, just the first to turn off the tap." It clicked. This wasn't just about me. It was a cycle. Generations of people groomed to serve, to stay silent, to save while others drowned in denial. They called me the villain because I stopped playing the hero. Heroes, let me tell you, often die broke and exhausted while everyone claps at their graves. Not me. 2 months later, I moved cities. New job, better team, higher pay, no forwarding address. One day, in my new apartment with bare floors and boxes still unpacked, I got a Facebook message from Eric, Vanessa's supposedly abusive ex. Thank you for helping her, even when she didn't deserve it. I wasn't the only thing she needed saving from. It stopped me cold, not because I craved validation, but because it was the first time anyone in that circle admitted the truth. I'd been shielding them from themselves until I stopped. And when I did, the silence wasn't remorse, it was freedom. It's been almost a year since I closed the fund, since the group chat exile, since the 89 missed calls, the single message, and their financial collapse. Since they tried to forge a loan in my name for $80,000 in fake recovery services. I kept expecting guilt to creep in, whispering, "They're your family. Maybe you went too far. but all I feel now is peace. Not the fake kind you force at tense family dinners. Real peace. The kind where your phone doesn't ring with dread, your money is yours, and your boundaries hold. Where you don't apologize for being free. They tried reaching out. Mom sent a Christmas Eve email with a photo of her, and Dad by a sparse tree, smiling stiffly, as if for an audience. Vanessa emailed on her birthday in March, a long ramble about reclaiming her power, ending with a casual ask for rent money. I didn't reply to either. I check my credit score monthly. No surprise accounts, no mysterious charges. The fraud alerts I set up after the forgery never triggered. I'm in control now, guarding my life as fiercely as I once guarded theirs. Then came the unexpected. Others reached out. Cousins I hadn't seen in years, coworkers I barely knew, even a Reddit stranger who saw my comment on a finance post and messaged, "Your story sounds like mine." Turns out there are many of us. The reliable ones, the ones who pay the bills, clean the messes, hide the panic, and carry the load while being called cold. When we ask for anything in return, the open vault slams shut. Until we learn to slam our own door. Leaving my family was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than watching Vanessa relapse. Harder than removing Dad from my emergency contacts. Harder than staying silent while they called me selfish, bitter, cruel. But it was also the most vital thing I've ever done. Staying would have meant killing myself slowly for their comfort. The final proof I'd done the right thing came weeks ago. I was walking home after a late client meeting down a familiar street when I saw Aunt Evelyn outside a bakery. Same scarf, same pearls, same smug posture. She waved like we were old pals. I almost kept walking but stopped. "You look good," she said, sizing me up. I replied. A beat. Then, without a trace of irony, she asked, "Would you ever consider setting up another fund just for emergencies?" I laughed deep, raw from my core. "I did," I said. "It's called my future." I walked away. I don't know if they'll ever understand what they lost or why I had to leave. Maybe they'll rewrite the story, call me greedy, unstable, ungrateful. Maybe Vanessa will turn her tale of toxic siblings into a podcast. I don't care. Because the truth is simple. I'm not the villain in their story. I'm the one who escaped it. And in doing so, I gave myself something they never could: unconditional freedom.